In this video, we'll be taking a look at 3 college football games happening on September 28, 2024, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 6 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 3 college football games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start: if you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Kentucky versus Ole Miss. Saturday features a Southeastern Conference showdown between the Kentucky Wildcats, who currently hold a 2-2 overall record and are 3-1-0 against the spread, and the number 6 ranked Ole Miss Rebels, sitting undefeated at 4-0 with a perfect 4-0 against the spread. This will be Kentucky's 3rd conference game of the season, having lost their previous 2, while Ole Miss steps into Southeastern Conference play for the first time this year. The Rebels will have the advantage of hosting at Vaught-Hemingway Stadium, with kickoff set for noon. These two teams last met in 2022, where Ole Miss narrowly came out on top with a 22-19 victory. Notably, Kentucky is currently on a 3-game losing streak against Ole Miss. The big question is, can the Wildcats finally turn the tables this year and get their revenge? Let's be real, Ole Miss has looked like an unstoppable force up to this point, undefeated and dominating the national leaderboard in both points and yards per game. The Rebels seem poised to run the table. However, their schedule up to now has been filled with weaker competition, with victories over Furman, Middle Tennessee, Wake Forest, and Georgia Southern. None of those teams pose the kind of challenge that Kentucky will bring. As the Rebels enter the more competitive Southeastern Conference play, that unblemished record could start to feel a bit more precarious. This is where Kentucky's plus 17.5 point spread becomes particularly interesting for bettors. Kentucky's defense has been its strongest asset, currently ranked 15th in the nation and allowing just 12.5 points per game. They've been tested in ways Ole Miss hasn't, such as 2 weeks ago when they nearly pulled off a massive upset against the reigning national champions, Georgia. The Wildcats pushed Georgia to the brink, holding them to 13 points in a nail-biting 13-12 loss. The plus 17.5 line also includes a crucial half-point hook, which offers some cushion in a game that could see Kentucky frustrating Ole Miss offense with gritty, defensive football. Additionally, running back Demi Sumo-Karnbe has injected new life into the Wildcats' offense, breaking their touchdown drought with 2 scores last week. When you factor in quarterback Brock Vandagriff, who despite some inconsistency has shown flashes of potential, Kentucky has the tools to keep the game closer than expected. And let's not overlook the Southeastern Conference factor, a conference where blowouts are rare, especially with a seasoned coach like Mark Stoops at the helm, who knows how to keep his team in the fight. All things considered, the Kentucky Wildcats to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Despite boasting the top-scoring offense in the nation with an average of 55 points per game, Ole Miss has struggled to consistently cover the total, going 1-3-0 against the over this season. Kentucky, coincidentally, has the same record of 1-3-0 against the over. First, let's take a deeper look at Ole Miss. Yes, the Rebels have posted impressive offensive numbers, but they've done so against teams that don't offer the kind of defensive resistance that Kentucky will bring to the table. The Wildcats rank 15th nationally in scoring defense, giving up just 12.5 points per game. Ole Miss hasn't faced a defense anywhere near this caliber in their first 4 games. Even Lane Kiffin, the Rebels head coach, admitted that their early schedule hasn't properly prepared them for the rigors of Southeastern Conference play. It's reasonable to expect Ole Miss' explosive offense to be somewhat neutralized by a Kentucky team that thrives on tough, physical football. On the flip side, Kentucky's offense isn't designed to rack up points. Quarterback Brock Vandagriff has posted modest numbers, with only 550 passing yards and a 58.6% completion rate through 4 games. Kentucky's offense has been underwhelming, especially in Southeastern Conference play, where they've averaged just 9 points per game. They've been ineffective on the ground and pose little to no threat in the passing game. While Ole Miss will take care of business defensively, it's unlikely they'll be able to put up a massive number of points against a stout Kentucky defense. Ultimately, Ole Miss will be responsible for most of the scoring in this game, but they won't have the luxury of running up the score against Kentucky's strong run defense. The 52.5 total points line feels like it's banking on another high-scoring performance from Ole Miss, but with Kentucky's strong defense and methodical ball control approach, it seems unlikely that the game will hit the over. Both teams have consistently fallen short of hitting the over this season, and the combination of pace and defensive strength in this matchup leans toward a lower-scoring affair. A final score in the range of 28-17 or 31-14 seems entirely plausible. Therefore, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Minnesota versus Michigan. It's a showdown between Big Ten rivals as they meet on the gridiron in one of college football's most iconic venues, the Big House. The Minnesota Golden Gophers are heading on the road to face off against the number 12 Michigan Wolverines on Saturday afternoon. Minnesota comes into this matchup after suffering a 31-14 defeat at home against the Iowa Hawkeyes in their previous contest, where they failed to cover the spread as 3-point underdogs. On the other hand, Michigan narrowly edged out number 11 USC 27-24 at home last Saturday, pulling off an outright win as 4-point underdogs. Historically, Michigan has dominated this rivalry, boasting a commanding 77-25-3 all-time lead, including a convincing 52-10 victory on the road in their last meeting on October 7, 2023. The Wolverines have also won the last 4 matchups between the two programs. The Minnesota Golden Gophers head into the Big House this weekend with hopes of pulling off a significant upset against Michigan. However, their recent performance doesn't inspire much confidence. Last Saturday, the Gophers took an early 14-7 lead against the Iowa Hawkeyes but crumbled in the second half, allowing 24 unanswered points and ultimately losing 31-14. Minnesota's defense was shredded by Iowa's running back Caleb Johnson, who racked up 206 yards on the ground and scored 3 touchdowns. Despite holding Iowa's quarterback Cade McNamara to just 62 passing yards, the Gophers' defense couldn't stop the Hawkeyes from piling up points. Meanwhile, Michigan showcased their dominance against USC, handing the Trojans a 27-24 defeat in their Big Ten debut. The Wolverines relied heavily on their ground game, with running backs Caleb Mullings and Donovan Edwards combining for 233 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. Junior quarterback Alex Orji, making his first collegiate start, contributed 43 rushing yards, though his passing performance was limited, managing just 32 yards through the air. Michigan's identity this season revolves around controlling the game on the ground, backed by a powerful offensive line full of NFL prospects, and this team continues that tradition. While I believe Michigan will eventually be exposed this season due to their lack of explosive elements on offense, I don't see that happening in this matchup. Their flaws were evident in the game against Texas, where they struggled to keep pace when trailing. However, Minnesota's recent defensive struggles, especially against the run, opened the door for Michigan to dominate on the ground once again. The Gophers were unable to stop Iowa's one-dimensional offense last week, and if they couldn't handle that, it's hard to imagine them faring any better against Michigan's bruising rushing attack. The Wolverines are likely to control the game through their ground game, just as they did against USC. Minnesota's defense looked helpless against the run last week, and that trend could continue against Michigan's powerful backfield. Minnesota faces a daunting challenge on both sides of the ball in this contest. The Golden Gophers struggled to generate any offensive momentum at home against Iowa, and now they must travel to take on a Michigan team that excels at running the ball and has a tough defense to crack. Michigan's star defensive back, Will Johnson, is expected to play in this game, further strengthening an already formidable Wolverines defense. While Minnesota's defense has forced 9 takeaways in their first 4 games this season, Michigan is by far the most talented team they've faced. Historically, Minnesota has struggled mightily in Ann Arbor, winning just 3 times since 1986. That trend doesn't look to change this weekend, as Michigan's dynamic rushing duo of Mullings and Edwards should lead them to another victory. So the Michigan Wolverines to win and cover the spread as the favorites is our full game side pick. Minnesota enters this game having split the over-under in their first 4 games of the season. However, all of those games were played at home, so this will be their first road test of the year. Michigan has also split the over-under in their 4 games, going over the total in their loss to Texas and win against USC, while staying under the total in wins over Fresno State and Arkansas State. Despite this, all of Michigan's games have seen at least 40 total points scored, and the last 8 meetings between these two teams have all gone over the number. Although Michigan's defense isn't as dominant as it was last season, they have been susceptible to successful passing attacks, which could give Minnesota some scoring opportunities. At the same time, Michigan's offense, led by their dynamic rushing game, will test a Minnesota defense that has struggled to stop opponents on 3rd downs, allowing a conversion rate of 45.6%. Michigan's bruising running back, Mullings, is likely to take advantage of that weakness. Last week, the oddsmaker set a similar total for the Minnesota-Iowa game, which ended with 45 combined points, going 10 points over the projected total. Expect a similar outcome here, especially considering this is one of the lowest posted totals for a Michigan game in recent memory. Even with Michigan's offensive issues, the total for this game is simply too low. Over the projected total is our full game total pick. Louisville versus Notre Dame. Notre Dame is set to host Louisville in South Bend, Indiana on Saturday, September 28th. After an eventful first 4 games of the season, the Fighting Irish, now sitting at 3-1, are eager to find stability. Their season has already seen both a commanding victory and a disappointing defeat. In their most recent game, they raised concerns with a sluggish start against Miami, Ohio, but eventually found their stride, riding a wave of momentum to secure an easy win. This upcoming game presents the toughest challenge yet for Louisville, who comes into the matchup with a perfect 3-0 record after securing a home win against Georgia Tech. Following a difficult loss to Northern Illinois, Notre Dame managed to bounce back with a road victory over Purdue. However, their home performance last week left much to be desired, particularly in the first half. Fans grew uneasy as Miami, Ohio controlled portions of the game, forcing the Irish to dig deep to regain control before halftime. If Louisville can keep pace, and there's reason to believe they can, Notre Dame has shown signs of vulnerability even on their home turf. Louisville's defense has taken significant strides this season and should be able to limit Notre Dame's ground game. Neither team's quarterback has had a standout year through the air, but Louisville boasts an explosive playmaker in wide receiver Ja'Cory Brooks, who has the potential to be a difference maker in this matchup. Louisville's start to the season has been nothing short of impressive, as they've won all 3 of their games behind mistake-free football from their veteran quarterback, Tyler Shough. Shough has thrown for 8 touchdowns with 0 interceptions, despite playing 1 fewer game than Notre Dame's Riley Leonard. Yet, Shough has accumulated 263 more passing yards than Leonard, showcasing Louisville's potent aerial attack. The Cardinals also feature 2 towering wideouts in Brooks and Bell, both standing over 6'2", who have been making plays consistently. Notre Dame, meanwhile, has shown cracks, losing to Northern Illinois at home and failing to score on their first 3 drives against Miami, Ohio. The Fighting Irish haven't been their usual selves, and Louisville's defense, which hasn't allowed more than 20 points in a game all season, could exploit these weaknesses. This game feels like it's destined to be decided by a slim margin, perhaps within 3 to 4 points. Louisville's defense is formidable, and while they've faced a somewhat softer schedule, their experience, led by Shough, gives them an edge. I also believe Louisville has a coaching advantage in this matchup, as I remain unconvinced by Notre Dame's head coach, Marcus Freeman. With that in mind, the Louisville Cardinals to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Both teams have been solid on defense throughout the season, with neither side allowing more than 20 points in any game. Despite some hiccups, they've both faced respectable opponents, including Texas Agricultural and Mechanical, Georgia Tech, and Purdue, as well as Notre Dame's infamous loss to Northern Illinois. While Notre Dame's offense has yet to fully hit its stride, it's worth noting that Purdue was an outlier, and they recently suffered a blowout loss to Oregon State. Notre Dame managed only 14 points against Northern Illinois and put up 28 points against Miami, Ohio, falling short of expectations. The offense struggled mightily in the opening quarter, unable to move the ball or put points on the board. Meanwhile, Louisville's offense has performed better, but this will undoubtedly be their stiffest defensive test of the season. Defense is the calling card for both teams. Louisville demonstrated their ability to stifle Georgia Tech's offense last week, holding them to just 87 rushing yards per game, ranking 18th nationally. Notre Dame's defense is similarly stout, ranking 18th against the pass, and both teams are giving up fewer than 11 points per game. The total for this game initially opened at 48.5 points, but has since been bet down to 45.5, as most of the betting action has leaned toward the under. Given the strength of both defenses, under the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed. Subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.